In this video, I'm going to show you how to do an incomplete dominance cross. Before we jump into the problem, we need to understand what incomplete dominance means. Now remember that incomplete dominance has a third phenotype, and that third phenotype applies to the heterozygous genotype. The heterozygous phenotype is going to be a blending of the dominant and recessive alleles. And the key term here is a blending of them. So in this case, in this problem, we are working with red morning glories, which is usually the dominant trait, white flowered morning glories, which is the recessive trait, therefore making the heterozygous phenotype a blending of red and white, which would make pink. Okay, some other examples would be if we had black and white fur on rabbits, the heterozygous would be a blending of black and white, which would make gray. We could do red flowers and blue flowers to make a blending, which would be purple flowers. Those are all examples of incomplete dominance. The key word here is a blending of the two. Okay, so the rest of this problem says a red flowered morning glory is crossed with a white flowered morning glory. We want to know the genotypes, which remember that's the genetic makeup of the organisms, so homozygous, heterozygous, and the phenotypes, which remember is the physical appearance of their offspring. So step one in the 4-step process that we are going to follow again for this is going to be to define or to pick a letter and define it. Lucky for you, in incomplete dominance problems, I give you a letter and I kind of define it for you. But in incomplete dominance problems, the defining of the letters is a little bit different. You have to define all 3 genotypes and tell me what their possible phenotype is. So for example, in order to have a red flower, we have to have big R, because big R, little r no longer provides us with a red flower. Instead, big R, little r is going to provide us with a pink flower. So we need to represent that when we are doing step 1. We also need to represent the white flower, which is the recessive allele. So in order to get a white flower, we have little r, little r. That's how you will do step 1 for incomplete dominance. Write out all the possible genotypes, tell me what their phenotypes would be. Step 2 is the same. We are going to look at the second sentence here. A red flowered morning glory is crossed with a white flowered morning glory. So that means we are crossing a red flower, which is big R, with a white flower, which is little r, to get a cross of big R by little r. Okay, step 3 is still doing the Punnett square. We are going to take that big R genotype and we're going to break it up into its gametes. So half of the eggs are going to have big R's, half of the eggs will have big R's. And we're going to take the other genotype and break it up into its gametes, which half will be little r, half will have the other little r. Then we go through and we basically play Battleship. We bring the big R down from the top, little r over from the side, and we get all of them to have big R, little r when you go through. The final step is going to be to find the genotypes and the phenotypes. For the genotypes, we look and we see that all 4 of these are heterozygous. So that means that there is a 100% chance of the offspring being heterozygous. It's just the way the dice roll. For phenotypes, we look, and since 100% are heterozygous, we match that up over here where we defined the genotypes to know that 100% of the flowers are going to be pink for the offspring. Okay, that is how you do an example of an incomplete dominance problem.